Hey Scott, how you doing?
Pretty good, Dana.
Well, as you know, we're trying to collect a series of videos here to capture some of our company history as we approach our 100-year anniversary that we want to celebrate. And so I figured it'd be good to get some people together and share some of our history, some stories, some corporate culture. And so here we are today. So I'm going to ask a stupid question. Can you state your name and give us a little background now on your history and how long you've been here?
Sure. Well, how long do you have? Because it's been quite a journey. So I'm Scott Lackey, and I started at MWI in 1979. So it's possible
I was 8 years old. Yeah.
I'm the oldest, or started at the earliest of anybody in the company 45 years ago, and started out as a draftsman. And your father interviewed me as he did all the ones back from those days. And started out as a draftsman for MWI. I worked there in Deerfield for about 2 years. And then I decided I'd like to try working for myself for a while. So for about 2 years I was away. And then when I realized I'm better off with a 9-to-5 job, I checked with MWI to see if they would like me to come back. And they did. And I've been back ever since. So I got a total of about 43 years in with the company. Well, while I was away, MWI bought Couch Pump Company. Yes, there you go. There you go. So what a fantastic opportunity. MWI asked if I would like to move up to Grant, Florida, to work for Couch Pump Company, about 100 miles north of Deerfield. And that was a great opportunity for me at that time. I was recently married, had a baby on the way. So what a beautiful place to raise a family up in the quieter area there in Sebastian, Grant area. Right. And then, so I was up there for 18 years until we consolidated our facilities. The couch division closed up. I came back down to Deerfield, worked there in the engineering department. I was there for about 12 years, transferred back up to the Deerfield Beach plant since we got that. And so I've been here now for about 10 years.
Yep. Tell a little bit about on the acquisition when we bought Grant and Dad sent you up there. I think he sent some other people up there too from Deerfield. I think Tom Moore, if I recall. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the factory and stuff when you started there. What was it like?
It was a lot like Deerfield's plant was. Just a good atmosphere, workers who had been there for a long time, very long time, and just a really tight-knit group. So it was a real privilege for me to kind of be part of the MWI group, helping to consolidate Couch, to integrate the designs between Couch and MWI, integrate the processes between the two companies. And that was just a really, really neat time.
Yeah, they have a neat culture. Their dad was, of course, they were one of the oldest pump companies in the state of Florida, 1917. And he was always, their workmanship was always really, really well. I think Dad always used to say it is because with that community up there, were they from, was it Dutch or something? There's a lot of people there that had Jorgensen's and other types. And so Dad always said that a lot of their European workmanship from that area kind of bled into the quality of the equipment that they always built up there. And how was the factory originally run? Do you remember that? When you were up there, was that artesian well still? I mean, it wasn't operating, but I think it still might have been flowing.
Yeah, they had that artesian well that they used to use for testing the turbines that they made for generating electricity. And then the state ended up coming in and sealing off that well.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 million gallons a day it used to do. I remember seeing some of the old pictures when everything was belt and pulley driven in the machine shop, and I think they used that artesian well even back in the turn of the century to operate a lot of that equipment. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It was a pretty neat facility. It was cool to be part of that history.
But you guys really kept me engaged, though. I've stuck around because just a great variety of work. Working with these custom engineered line shaft pumps. Right. Just always a new challenge, new design, something to test my abilities and the company's abilities. But of course, none of that matters if you don't have good people to work with and a good environment to work in. And that's really been a key.
Are there any particular projects that come to mind that you worked on and helped design that you're most proud of?
It's the big jobs, the big pumps, and one that you and I worked on so closely together was part of the Everglades restoration with the Compartment B, Compartment C projects. So those were jobs with 96-inch diameter, 8-foot diameter pumps, 1,200 horsepower diesel engines. And something that was so special about that project is that there was that head-to-head competition between the pump companies as to who would be awarded the project. So we had to have the project manager
Do a presentation.
yeah, and that happened to be me. I felt like how the Apollo astronauts, were the visible part of an incredibly huge team. And so it was a real privilege to represent us at that presentation and to represent all the work that went into that presentation. But then to be graded by that panel of engineers and purchasing people and maintenance technicians, and they found that MWI was the best source of pumps for this critical project. And that was for the first one. And then they had another bid, and we won that one too. So we built, I think it was a total of 9 of those 8-foot diameter pumps here South Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those as well. I'm very proud of you. I mean, you did an excellent job representing the company. It's not every day that you have your inside guy have to do the presentation of the overall how we're going to attack this project and show our competency and our Gantt charts and all the other stuff, and then be there and have a bunch of questions asked. And you did an awesome job. Yeah. And
well, again, just representing the team, putting that package together, and then to make it all happen. It's one thing to get the job, but it's another thing to make it all happen. So, we got to visit one of our overseas suppliers to help coordinate some of the design activities.
Those are very large castings.
Yeah. Was the primary designer on that one and overall coordination. So yeah, that one is one I'm probably most proud of.
Yeah, well, me, I love pumps. The bigger the better. And I'm really excited about the new addition that we're doing in our Vero facility, where we're expanding our line shaft building there with a really thick concrete floor. But the thing I'm really most proud of is moving that 120-inch bets, back up there into Vero Beach and having it underneath a crane system that can, move 20 tons. So we'll be set up in the future to really handle projects like that with a good safety, but the proper equipment, and the machinery is still going to be there, and it's going to be really cool. I'm excited about that. In fact, today I think they're pouring 8 truckloads of concrete. So over the years, how have you seen MWI Pumps evolve and adapt to changing times?
Yeah, when I first started with the company, a lot of the work we did, besides municipal stuff, a lot of it was agriculture.
Right.
Back in those days, they were still building or installing new citrus groves in the state. So a lot of agricultural. But then as times go by, we still have agricultural, but not as much. We're doing more aquaculture. We're doing more municipal jobs. And then we started getting into these more critical projects for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Reclamation, some of these critical jobs for South Florida Water Management District. So we certainly had to evolve our abilities, our capabilities, our staffing to be able to handle projects like that. But we've done it.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've done some very, very sophisticated jobs, and I think the ability of us to really do a lot of different things because of the skill sets and the equipment we have has made it fun. How would you describe the culture at MWI Pumps? What do you think sets us apart from other companies?
Well, I have to say is that we're not huge, and that we're still family owned. Yeah. It still's got that family vibe to it, and that's really been nice because you look forward to coming to work. You look with people that you're really familiar with. As I've interacted with other companies through the years in the purchasing items, one company gets bought by a conglomerate, and now you're dealing with, people who don't really have history of that product. But we've retained all of that history. We've retained all that continuity because of the other family and keeping us close together.
Yeah. No, I think our corporate culture is one of our key strengths. And you know, ability to be flexible with employees, you know, and whether it's time off or family issues and stuff like that, you know, even though we have policies that we, you know, try to be fair with everyone, we're always be as flexible as we can, because you know, you spend a lot of time at work with, and you want to work with people that you treat as family. Yeah. So we spend more hours here during the week than we oftentimes do with our own families. So, can you share a memorable story that exemplifies the company's core values? You know, no fear, power, love, self-discipline, any of those in action.
Well, I'd have to say, you know, I feel like I've been a recipient of the company's love.
That's the one I wear on my wrist all the time.
There you go. And you already touched on it too, about seeing, you know, how you're able to accommodate folks in their needs. You know, I remember back in the 1990s, I had an opportunity to be involved some more in a Bible education work. Right. And I approached your dad and said, would it be possible, you know, to work part-time? Mm. And after some deliberation, he said, yeah, you can do that. Mm-hmm. So for 2 years, right, I got to work part-time and devote myself more to that activity, which I treasure so much. And then in more recent years, as my parents got older, again, you work for a company so long, you go through these different phases of life, right?
I call them seasons.
Yeah, there you go. So it's my parents were needing some more care, and they lived up in the Vero Beach area, and I'm working in Deerfield. Right. So I hit you up. You know, would it be possible for me to work out of our Vero Beach plant so I could be closer to them? And you graciously said yes. And that allowed me to take care of them, and to always treasure, you know, that opportunity as well.
Yeah, it's been a blessing to be able to be flexible and have all these opportunities, and even, you know, continuing to you know, just be a family. You know, yeah. You know, life gives us ups and downs and changes and seasons, and you try to be as flexible as you can with everybody, but you just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and things work out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talking about when you were at Grant, I remember, you know, because Dad always had me work in the summers and learning different processes. And I remember I think I spent a whole summer up in 1 or 2 working out of that office up there. One, I think, in the factory, and one underneath your tutelage or something like that in the office. And I learned a lot. So I always appreciated being up there. Significant projects and achievements, I think we talked about some of those. That was pretty good. You have Red Bluff Pump Station. That was a big job as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I never get tired of looking at that one photograph of them lifting that 7-foot diameter pump up with 2 cranes, getting ready to put it in. I mean, that's an impressive photo. That's a great testament to what MWI has been able to accomplish.
Yeah, that's an awesome pump. I mean, and I forget the last time we tracked how many hours were on that thing, but it was crazy. I think I calculated how many times round trip to the moon and back that pump's been.
And they've got 7 of those.
I know, and they still continue to you know, chip away. Yeah. I always joke, you know, people say most pump companies make their living off of, they sell the pumps that they're really going to make their living off the spare parts. And like, you just don't do it on line shaft pumps. That's not our model. But the fact is, when you build a pump properly and it's designed right, it's going to last a heck of a long time.
I got a great example of that. So one of the first projects I was able to work on when I came to Couch was a project for town of Stratford, Connecticut, Ferry Creek Pump Stations, 6-foot diameter pumps, or 5-foot diameter, 60-inch. So that's 40 years ago that I worked on designing those pumps. So just a few months ago, we got an inquiry to replace a bowl. You know, after all that time. So yeah, these things last. We built some quality stuff through that time.
Yeah. It's really kind of cool when you see pumps come back after 40 or 50 years for some parts and some maintenance and service, and how well they've lasted. Well, yeah, like you said, it's a testament to designing things properly, building it right. Company's impact and contributions. How do you think MWI Pumps has contributed to flood protection, drainage, irrigation, water control? Can you share any examples? How you think our pumps have made a difference?
Yeah. So again, because water is such a precious resource, it's, you know, just about everything we do with these pumps is meaningful in some way. But a good example I think about is back about year 2000 or so, in the Everglades, the Cape Sable seaside sparrow.
Seaside sparrow, yes.
Yes. So its habitat was threatened by water, and South Florida Water Management District put out an emergency contract to build. We built 48-inch diameter pumps and a 30-inch pump, and they had to be done in record time.
It was like 60 days or something crazy.
And we accomplished that. I think we even beat the time, got a bit of a bonus. But there's an example of protecting this species that needs some help, and we were able to accomplish that for them.
Yeah, there's definitely a tight timeline on that. I remember Joe Foster was running the factory at that time, and that night we had there water lube bearings on some of those, and we were installing those water lubricated extra pumps on there. I think I was working with Joe that night, and we got there before the sun set, and when the sun was coming up in the morning, we got the last one hooked up. It worked all through the night, but that whole job was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would say that's another good example of the culture at MWI. We never leave our customers hanging. We do whatever it takes to take care of what their needs are.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good example. Let's see. Culture, tradition, or stories. Any unique traditions, events, or stories that you think have become part of the company's fabric over the years that you can think of? So, you got some good notes on here.
Yeah, I think especially just at Couch, I really treasure my 18 years up there at Couch because it just has such a great atmosphere. That part of the state is kind of like a fishing village environment to it. And Couch Pump Company was right there on the Indian River Lagoon, the seawall right there. You could go out and watch dolphin, feeding and, breaking the water. Guys would come out at lunchtime and they'd be fishing in the river. But just such a nice culture there. And again, still very similar cultures to Deerfield's culture. But just really.
Yeah, but their location was way superior right there on the Indian River.
Yeah. I mean, one of our plant managers, Joe Foster, he lived on an island.
Yeah. Went to work by boat every day.
Work by boat, yes.
Yeah. And then Bloomy, I think, would after he retired, wouldn't he fly his airplane right in front of the place down the Indian River?
That's right.
Yeah. So we had some good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I still do have good people, but a lot of good memories of the team up there. Company's evolution and future. As the company approaches its 100-year anniversary, what do you envision for MWI Pumps in the next decade and beyond?
Well, again, you can just imagine from working at the company 45 years ago to today, and all the changes and evolution that we've had, new equipment, new techniques, new people with greater skills. I just don't see that changing. Even in more recent years, taking on new machines, the expansion that the company's going through, building a new building at the Vero Beach plant. We've got a new property also in Vero Beach. You've got some major renovations taking place down in the Deerfield. So
getting ready to rehab or complete machine shop to state-of-the-art NASCAR level stuff, which is going to be really, really fun.
So I just don't see that changing. It's like continue to be that way, and it's going to keep going that way.
Advice for the next generation. What advice would you give to new employees joining MWI Pumps?
Well, it's all the basics of being a good employee and a good team member. Work hard, do good work, but also, keep being curious, keep trying to learn, see how your role with the company fits into the bigger picture of what we do and what we do for the community out there. Just be as engaged as you possibly can.
Yeah, always ask. Nothing wrong with asking the question why. Why do we do it this way? Or, and if you have suggestions on maybe a different way, bring it up.
But and I've always seen too that MWI is willing and eager to promote from within.
Right.
So again, you show yourself to be that kind of employee. I mean, look at me. I started out as a drafter,
right,
back all those years ago, and then ended up becoming the manager of the engineering department at the Couch division with a staff of 5.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows what you can accomplish at MWI, if you work hard.
Yeah. And you put your brain to it and your time and energies. It's a great story. Thank you, Scott. Closing thoughts. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey with MWI Pumps, the people you've worked with, or the impact the company's had on your life? You shared a little bit of that. So
Yeah, just that, it's a great place to work, and I hope that continues. Yeah, I think it's going to continue because
I hope it continues. We don't want to change it.
because the core of it has always been the Eller family.
Right.
And working with your dad, now working with you and your brother and your sister, we just see that continuing familial relationship with the employees and as a group. And as I mentioned before, you stick with the company because you enjoy the work and you enjoy the environment. And MWI has got both of those. So I just see nothing but good things for the future.
Thank you, Scott. I know I can speak for my family and brother and sister. We love what we do. So it's we still wake up every day and it's a new challenge, and being able to make stuff is just, of course, my brother and I are slightly different. I tend towards more of my grandfather's tendency where I just love to make stuff for the joy of making things. And of course my brother balances me off saying, hey, we have to make a profit on it too. And so we balance each other off, but there is a lot of fun that we have around here, being able to, like you said, every job's a little bit different. It is never mental drudgery. So, one of the things I've asked everybody to do is to, take an opportunity to look at the camera and just, if you want to wish MWI, congratulations on reaching its 100-year milestone. Feel free to do that. We're going to try to clip these together here for an event later. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, happy anniversary, MWI, 100 years and counting. I really look forward to what you're going to accomplish in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. My pleasure.